So you want to buy some Bitcoin, and you may be wondering, is there a best day of the week to buy Bitcoin? Well, it turns out that there is an optimal day, and it's not the one you may think. So in this video, I will show you what is the very best day of the week to buy Bitcoin so that you can maximize your probability to buy Bitcoin at a low price and make more gain. And I will prove this with data. So to answer this question, I wanted to use real historical price for Bitcoin. So I wrote a Python script that loads the real historical price of Bitcoin since 2015 up to 2025. And then I wrote a function that simulates the fact of buying a weekly amount of Bitcoin every week with a fixed amount. So this is the idea of dollar cost averaging. With dollar cost averaging, or DCA, what you are doing is that every week you invest a fixed amount into Bitcoin, for example, $100 per week. So what's the advantage of doing that? The advantage is that if you spread your investment every week, then you also spread the risk. If you buy Bitcoin all at once, you don't know if you are buying Bitcoin at the top or at the bottom. So if you are buying Bitcoin at the top, then it will take a very long time for you to make some profit on that. In contrast, if you are buying a little bit of Bitcoin every week, then you are spreading the risk. And the beauty of dollar cost averaging is that when the price of Bitcoin goes down, then your $100 is worth more Bitcoins. And so by doing dollar cost averaging, you will tend to buy more Bitcoins at the lower price, which means that on average, the average price of your Bitcoin will be lower, which means that if you wait long enough, you will make more profit on the long term. So let's see the result of this. So with this function, what we can do is that we can change the parameters. So for example, we can change the amount in dollars that you invest into Bitcoin every week. And you can change the amount of the date at which you start to invest into Bitcoin and the date at which you stop. So to start to see a first example, let's see what is the result of investing $100 into Bitcoin every week. And first, I'm going to show what is the result between January 2020 up to January 2024. And January 2024 is an important date because it's the date at which the Bitcoin spot ETF was introduced. So let's first check what happens if you buy Bitcoin for 4 years between January 2020 and January 2024, and if you invest $100 per week into Bitcoin. So this is the result that you get if you invest into Bitcoin, for example, every Sunday. So the orange line will be the total amount that you would have invested. So this orange line increases constantly over time. This is because, again, every week you invest $100. So this is the value of your investment. Every week it increases by $100. This is the amount that you pay. And the blue line, this is the amount, this is the value of your investment into Bitcoin. So this is the value of all the Bitcoins that you have purchased since the beginning of your dollar cost averaging. And as you can see, the blue line is higher than the orange line, which means that the value of the Bitcoin that you have accumulated is higher than the value of your investment, which means that you are making some profit. So for example, in this example, if you invest $100 into Bitcoin weekly every Sunday, you would have invested about $21,000 in total, but the value of your Bitcoin, the total value of your investment will be $44,000, which means that you would have a return of 110%. Basically, in 4 years, you would have doubled your investment. So how does this depend on the day? What happens if you don't buy on Sunday? What happens if you buy on another day? Well, if we again look at the results between 2020 and 2024, it turns out that Monday is the very best day to buy Bitcoin, while on the other hand, Friday is the worst day to buy Bitcoin. So here this histogram shows your final return on your investment as a function of the day at which you buy Bitcoin. So you can see that if you buy every Monday, you would get a return on investment of 119%, which is 10% more than if you were buying on Friday. So it does make a difference. The day at which you buy Bitcoin with dollar cost averaging can make a big difference. In this case, it can make up to a 10% difference if you buy on Monday instead of Friday. So this is indeed the predominant opinion, that Monday is the very best day for dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin or into stocks or into other cryptocurrency. But is this still true? Those results here, again, are based on buying Bitcoin between 2020 and 2024, which was before the introduction of the Bitcoin Spot ETF. Is this still true now that we have the Bitcoin Spot ETF? So it's worth relooking into this, because the introduction of the Bitcoin Spot ETF has really changed the way Bitcoin is being purchased. So let's find out if this strategy of buying Bitcoin every Monday still works. So for this, let's change the parameter of the script. And so what we're going to do is still buy $100 of Bitcoin per week, but instead of buying between 2020 and 2024, now let's see what happens if you only start buying since January 2024, and we're going to see what happens until 20 months later, that is to say until August 2025. So let's rerun the script here. And so again, let's see what happens if you buy first every Sunday. The good news is that dollar cost averaging, DCA, still works. The value of your investment in blue here is still higher than the value of the dollars that you have invested into Bitcoin, which means that you are still making a profit. Dollar cost averaging still works. In this case, if you started to invest $100 into Bitcoin every week since January 2024, you would have invested about $8,000 of Bitcoin, but the value of all the Bitcoins that you would have accumulated would be worth about $13,000, which means that you would have a return of 58% in just 20 months, which is a pretty good number. So now let's see how this depends on the day at which you buy Bitcoin. Is Monday still the best time to invest? Well, it turns out that if we redo this analysis based on buying Bitcoin since 2024, January 2024, it turns out that Monday is not the best day anymore. Now you can see that Saturday is the day that will give you the highest return on the long term. Now Saturday becomes the best day to buy Bitcoin. So the introduction of the Bitcoin Spot ETF has really changed things. And now what used to be a winning strategy to buy Bitcoin on Monday is not the most optimal strategy anymore. Saturday is now the best day, while Thursday now has become the worst day to buy Bitcoin. So you do get a competitive advantage now by buying Bitcoin every Saturday. This will increase your probability to make gains on the long term. So you need to be careful, because a lot of things have changed since the introduction of the Bitcoin Spot ETF. And some former recommendations that used to be true are not valid anymore. So you need to do your own research and really need to see what is working now, and it's not necessarily what used to work. But if you really want to increase your gain, the most efficient strategy is to buy Bitcoin near the bottom. So when the price of Bitcoin is historically low, this is typically the best time to buy Bitcoin. And when the price of Bitcoin is near a top, it's usually time to sell your Bitcoin and to take profit. This is why we developed the Cryptolicious indicator. This indicator is gold when Bitcoin shows an increasing trend, and then it turns blue when BTC starts to show a negative trend. So when the indicator turns from blue to gold, it typically means that it's a great time to buy Bitcoin with a low risk that Bitcoin will further go down. But when it turns blue, it typically means that it's a good time to sell and to take profit because there is a high probability that Bitcoin will start to dump from this point. So this indicator works with any cryptocurrency like Ethereum, and even better, it can give you some automated live alerts for when it's time to buy or to sell any cryptocurrency that you are following. So you can get automated alerts, for example, by email, that will tell you when it's time to buy or when it's time to sell a given cryptocurrency. So if you are interested, you can get a free access to this indicator for Bitcoin. All you have to do is to go to cryptolicious.ai, and you can get some information about this indicator, and you can access for free to the free version of this indicator, which will give you access to the indicator for Bitcoin and will tell you what is the best price, the best time to price Bitcoin when it's close to a bottom, and when it's the best time to take profit and to sell Bitcoin where it's has a high probability to be close to a top. If you're interested in also using this indicator for other cryptocurrency, then you can subscribe to the indicator. And we're currently, for a limited time, running a 50% discount promotion. All you have to do is to use the promo code YouTube. The link to Cryptolicious will be down in the video description down below. So there you have it. Saturday is now the best day to buy Bitcoin. And so again, you need to be careful because what used to work before might not work anymore. So if you would like me to run this analysis for another cryptocurrency, please let me know which coin you would like me to look at in the comments, and make sure to subscribe. Thank you.